And I guess the starting point for us is M&C Saatchi Abel, so next year we're going to be 8 years old. And it's been a great year for us. We recently were appointed by Windhoek, so that increases our remit within the Heineken South Africa group. So we've got Heineken, Strongbow, and now Windhoek out of M&C Saatchi Abel Johannesburg. We're partnering with Supersport and doing some really exciting projects there. And I think, talking to Brutal Simplicity of Thought, the conversation we're having with them is around the power of sport to unite a nation. And you think of all the sports-mad, loving fans, how can we harness some of that energy, and what is the bigger role that Supersport can actually play? So that's a really exciting journey that we're looking forward to going on with them. WWF, of course, it's pro bono, but a brilliant brand. They recently ended a long-term relationship to go and see another agency that can take them forward more strategically to deliver against what their challenges are in South Africa. And so we're just kicking off our journey with them, which is fantastic. Nando's, obviously iconic. Agency leaders have just done a survey on what client they'd most like to have, and Nando's is top of the list, understandably. But what's fantastic for us is our increasing remit with them. So we're now working on their groceries business, and you'd be amazed at how many millions of bottles of that chili sauce they sell around the world. So we're working with them on that, as well as the EMEA region. Also fantastic, won a Lurie's Gold this year. But also, Apex, we won their first Creative Effectiveness Award, which kind of talks to the work that really does work, and we're really proud of that. The other Apex we got this year was for Strongbow, so we launched that into this market globally. It was the most successful launch for Strongbow around the world, and also got an Apex, which was fantastic. In line with, I guess, this vision, which has been kind of in the pipeline, and some of it already live at the beginning of this year, we found the need to kind of restructure our Joburg leadership. So Jerry stepping into a chairman role to, I guess, drive effectiveness and efficiencies both within these companies, but also really importantly collaboration. So that's the role that Jerry has taken on. Alan Bell has come on as MD of M&C Saatchi Abel Johannesburg, and then of course Adam Weber, who comes from Joe Public, is heading up our creative vision here in Joburg and doing a fantastic job. So brief nutshell, M&C Saatchi Abel. Moving on to Africa, this was the second company that we started, and Africa is tough. I guess sometimes we think of Africa as one country. No, there's a whole lot of different countries in it, and it's tough to crack, not just as agencies, but also for the clients that we work with. And I think what's been key to our success, and I think the momentum that we're getting over the last 2 years, is that we're in market. So these pictures you see are actually from their Instagram handle. If you're on Instagram, do follow them, because you get such an interesting, fresh lens on what's going on in Africa. They've made over 100 trips over the last kind of 2 years, 500,000 kilometers worth of travel. So it really is about being in market. That's what it's about. It's not about going in and buying an agency, putting your logo on the door and walking away. We really are engaged. And so to date, and Jerry spoke a bit to this model, is that we've got 19 partner agencies across the continent, and a really fantastic network. The client that I guess really sits at the heart of M&C Saatchi Africa is also Heineken, but not Heineken out of South Africa. It's actually Heineken out of Amsterdam. So for Heineken out of Amsterdam, we work across 20 countries, managing 10 brands. And that's not just in the above-the-line space. We're actually one of 4 digital global hubs for Heineken worldwide. And so we look after their digital and social content. It actually makes us one of the only 2 digital agencies that Heineken has. So a really fantastic opportunity, doing really exciting work. The translation gets a bit tricky when you're dealing with all the languages, but it's a great success story and one that we're really proud of.
As Jerry mentioned, a year or so ago we saw a big opportunity in our market to launch a really hot, medium-sized creative agency. And we encountered an agency then called Domino Digital. And in conversations with them, really saw that they were far more than traditional just digital agencies, some very big ideas and some iconic South African brands. We rebranded them Dalmatian, and they work on amazing local brands like Twist. We'll show you some work. I'm sure we're all kind of familiar with the preeminent e-cigarette in South Africa. My Way, the brand repositioning work that's in market at the moment. But maybe most exciting, because it's all happening today, we are launching South Africa's new bank. That's Time Digital by Commonwealth Bank South Africa. It's a mouthful, but it's part of the biggest Southern Hemisphere bank, fourth biggest bank in the world, Commonwealth Bank. They just got their full banking license, so you'll see the press release coming out today, and tomorrow you can actually watch the live announcement on Facebook at 11 o'clock. And we're working with Time, they're just down the road from us here, and that's a big Dalmatian client, and it really kind of their opportunity to take presence in the local markets. And lots of news I hope you'll see coming out soon, some new talent that's joining the group, so watch this space.
I think we can also share on Time Digital that we are the brand agency and King James is the retail agency.
Yeah,
so
we pitched in November, December last year was a big competitive pitch on that, yeah.
Cool. Moving to Connect, which I know many of you are familiar with Martin McGregor, so he heads up this business. It's the independent media strategy and planning business, and a fantastic story. Since launching nearly, I think, 4 years ago, they now manage close on 500 million rands worth of spend in terms of strategy and planning around that. 2 recent wins is RCL Foods Group, so a fantastic opportunity. And then Get Smarter, who you may have heard about these guys, based out of Cape Town. They're the online education business that has just been bought out, I think it was $100 million by an American firm. But actually more interesting for us is the approach we're taking there, and it's all about response-based planning, and it's kind of a methodology that the team are busy building, which is about understanding the result of your media spend and what channels you're on. So we measure real-time all their channels and what placements are delivering the biggest impact, and then affecting that planning on an ongoing basis. So basically it's like real-time planning. And so it's a model that we're trying to work with on our clients that are able to track data as quickly as that. So really, really exciting. And I guess hopefully some of that has led to us being a Financial Mail ad-focused finalist. Takealot.com, they've partnered with us from the beginning to take that brand to be the dominant e-tailer. Hollard, Continental South Africa, Superbulous.com, again doing response-based planning on that piece of business there. So really fantastic success story.
Levergy, one of the agencies I enjoy working with most in our group. They're on the ground floor. They've recently moved in. Maybe on your way out we can pop in the door and see their new office space there. It's really fantastic. It's a sports and entertainment agency. Recently won at the Sports Awards, not only the most highly awarded agency on the night, but also won the Agency of the Year, which is fantastic. And that's an awards ceremony to go to because there are lots of amazing sports people at it. They do great work with brands like New Balance, with Cricket South Africa, so some fantastic work there. Audi, Supersport, we've had the opportunity to collaborate with them. They run all of Supersport's digital work. And all of those big communities, as you can imagine, really significant following in this market. And again, they're also on the specialist agency shortlist. So that's great for us.
Credit Spark, also mentioned them. Fantastic successes this year. So they've recently won Danone, so managing digital and social media for their stable of brands. And I guess the opportunity and what we've been working with the team there is in really building their creative firepower. So whilst they have incredibly strong tech people and digital people and all those people who kind of sit behind computers all day, we saw the opportunity to increase the conceptual thinking, the creative element. And so really you'll see some new news coming out on that front. Tanya Lazakhan, who is ex-Prime Media Digital CEO, has just joined as MD. And fantastic. Finding a woman in tech to lead a business is very hard because there are not many of them, so it's fantastic to have a woman at the helm there, working with Matt Buckland, the founder. And I think that the more interesting thing is the other work that they're doing outside of communication, and where they're really starting to find a gap is in digital transformation. The need to take clients on a journey of saying, we have a Facebook page and now what? And not just in terms of communication, but across the organization. So a brand like MateScheme saying, what is the role of digital in healthcare? And what does that future look like? Help us plot that journey. And that's the sort of work that they're starting to do. So really, really exciting. And I guess the last 2 things is 2 new babies that are kind of at the moment being born. First one is Black and White, which is kind of a project that close to our hearts and something we've been focusing on for quite some time.
So this is really hot off the press, the first view of this logo. And this is our strategic marketing agency. And as Jerry alluded to and as Mike spoke to, we've always been an agency that's been very clear about our role, and that's about driving business impact. If we can't impact the top line, then we aren't meaningful and valuable to our clients. And I think in those conversations what we found is we actually are very often being pulled quite far upstream into the business and finding lots of opportunities that don't necessarily even have a communication output. Might have a customer experience output or a customer journey output or a strategic output. And it's in here that Black and White will position itself. Some of the work we've already done is with the likes of Superbulous. We've worked with them very closely on their private label strategy. When should they be launching a standalone brand versus a private brand? How should that be positioned? What's the naming convention versus market? And what should the experience be when you encounter those brands on their digital platforms? With Vida, they lost their way a little bit a few years ago as they were going through ownership change. And we worked with them then to re-establish their purpose very clearly, using the one-word equity of passion. And that became the center of the experience dimensions. So not only looking at visual assets, but also what is the experience when you walk into a Vida? What does that mean? That means you don't sell burgers. That means you have to go back to the heart of what you stood for. Old Mutual, a project we completed earlier this year, really exciting, was looking at how do we consolidate a number of digital platforms into a much more singular and valuable customer experience for an Old Mutual customer. So again, not really competing there as an advertising agency, but much more as a strategic marketing agency. With Virgin Red, obviously Virgin's more urban brand, how do we develop a value proposition that doesn't make them cheap, makes them the much more accessible, fun, smart alternative for Virgin. So again, looking at those experience dimensions. And lastly, we do a lot of work with private equity and hedge fund businesses. Not only have we repositioned Ethos, who's the largest private equity firm in South Africa, but we then also work with a lot of their newcos. So when they were going through, for instance, unbundling Nampak, working on what does that mean if we're going to move into this market, how does the brand perform in this space? Evaluating as part of due diligence, how do we impact brand and what levers can we pull? So some really interesting projects. Hopefully lots more to come in this world, and this is going to be a lot more of my focus moving forward.